Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another scene set in Adesavara Crusade Season 2. Tonight, in, or rather outside of, Edessa, we set the scene back at the forest of one of the far-flung gangrel that exists upon the fringes of civilization. An Assamite that many know as Al-Qadir is approaching its self-proclaimed domain. A forest of thin, gnarled trees. Cold air and highly inquisitive and suspect wildlife, shall we say. As Al-Qadir approaches, this time with a clanmate in tow, Statira, an ancilla of the clan, one who has assisted him in the arrangement he made with this gangrel. And the moonlight eerily shines through the canopy of branches and leaves. Highlighting the foliage and bark beneath upon the ground. As Statira separates from her mount, tying it to a tree, which takes some effort as her horse is startled and afraid of her. Urgent and shocked at her presence and Al-Qadir's. So he has to race to tie it to a tree before it can get away. It's been an uncomfortable ride for them both here. It's taken them some hours. Fortunately, these are the winter months, so the night time is quite long. But both know it best to not linger here for too long. Mr. Tyra, after removing herself from her mount, from her rather buck-wild horse, sets herself down upon the ground and begins whispering to the breeze in a language that few would understand. Only experienced blood magicians may be able to determine what she is doing. But she begins conversing with the environment around her, making small talk. Without knowing the language, it is hard to determine. But strangely, upon doing this, she seemed more at ease than she was on the way here. Perhaps the tense and difficult horse ride had left her in as sour mood as the horse itself. And they're now having a bit of ground beneath her. And supposedly something or someone to talk to. She seems much more comfortable about herself, about this place. Rather contradictory thing to say about another Canaanite's domain, but there you go. As she begins to wind down on her conversation, she begins taking out seeds and planting them in various locations around the forest, where the moonlight shines brightest, where the canopy is thinnest. She begins to paint her blood upon the tree bark. Making incantations in ancient forgotten languages, old Farsi, Mithraean code. Zoroastrian prayers. And she continues to paint each tree one by one, or at least those that haven't already been painted, almost like she's finishing off the great work. As Al-Qadir apparently is just content to sit there and wait. So I spent the last 7 or so minutes continuing this narrative, and I have really run out of material. We will see if he comes back, or if I'll have to cancel this scene. Well, this is frustrating. I'm going to wait for another 3 minutes. And he's back, so we shall continue. Apologies for the pause, everybody, if you're watching this. As Tyra continues to paint upon the trees, leaving little symbols that simply fade into the tree bark. Her incantations, her prayers, her commands, wishes and indictments, whispering power into the symbol she leaves. Other parts of...
As I was saying.
Oh, I died. Sorry, I'll be one moment. I'm narrating right now. So to catch you up, Daryl, Statira has she's gotten off her horse, and for the past few minutes she has been painting some of the tree trunks with her blood, making various incantations before slowly finishing and then having a conversation with the air and various flora. As some of the seeds she has sown in the ground, where the moonlight shines brightest and the canopy is thinnest, begin to rise from the ground and begin to form small trees of their own. Well, trees and foliage.
Kadir will watch patiently and with interest, for he has never seen her magic up close before. And once I can tell that I feel that her spell is done, he will state, I appreciate your help on this matter.
You are a clanmate, and we have business to conclude here.
And he nods to that. And he will begin guiding her to where he believes the cave should be going to. And as they are walking, he will state, we don't work with each other very often.
We do not. I am usually performing the duties of my sire and tending to the long-term arrangements of my clan and various others around the city.
See, I hope everything is going in your favor then.
Yes, Giles has shown renewed interest in my work recently. It should benefit the clan well in the long term. I may also approach the Primogen of Clan Toreador, see if we cannot strike up an accord of sorts. They seem more distant than the other high clans regarding the usurpers. They could be useful informants for us.
I see. I have a minor relationship with the clan of Rose as well. I will say before we meet this individual, not to, let's just say, can trying to judge her on the same merits that we would judge ourselves. She's that of a naturalist and a free thinker. She is gangrel, I guess, to be honest.
Oh, and a like mind. This should be interesting.
And he will nod. And he will look to see if the animals are doing their similar approach of very instinctively watching him or watching them.
One second. Yes, as you look around, you see the the eponymous fox has been keeping an eye on you for quite some time now. And there are a couple of birds on the tree branches that have just kind of been lingering. You're not sure if they're just lingering because they're tired or if they're watching you there.
Are there any rodents that are watching us at the moment?
Not to your knowledge, but they'd easily be the hardest to spot if they were.
Okay.
They can hide beneath the ground and make far less noise than any of the other animals that would be watching you.
Alrighty. Then he will just continue moving and will say to her that these creatures are this individual eyes.
I see.
They'll continue forward.
They've made quite a comfortable home for themselves here.
Possibly.
Oh no, absolutely. Such a large space all to themselves. It's quite the domain.
Yeah, he will nod, just nod in agreement. So, the fact that she has these creatures in her favor shows much, at least.
Well secured, well kept. No untoward behavior, apart from the one instance, of course. And enough warnings. She kind of looks to the trees which are scratched and clawed out. To at the very least give Canaanites and mortals a like pause as to whether they should really be here.
She lives in harmony with the space.
She lives in her progenitor's name to a far higher standard than I think many of those within the city do.
And people in the city are distracted by many things. There's only nature out here.
Yes, it is. Refreshing.
That it is.
She seems quite happy to be here. But as you begin to approach the cave, you see the form of a leopard begin to and come out of it. Sort of
When
rising from the darkness of the cave.
uh, when the leopard reveals itself, he will incline his head and will gesture.
Uh, the Tyro bows. The leopard looks at you, eyes your compatriot.
I am here to finish our agreement.
You and your clanmates have fulfilled your end of the agreement, so I shall fulfill mine.
And he'll just nod his head.
Your servant is inside. I shall fetch him for you.
And
Then she wanders back into the cave.
He will also say to her, she's also somewhat irritable. She has been through a lot.
Interesting. What do you mean by this?
Apparently, her and a part of the clan was at war with the Tremere, and they lost. And not only that, she was captured by them for the experiments that I told Lysa about.
She sighs and takes a long blink. That is a shame, but I cannot say I'm surprised.
She has nothing much she wants to deal with the city. But if she can do harm to the Tremere and have safety upon it, she's willing to work with us.
An honorable and brave decision of her.
We'll need more friends in these nights.
If the usurpers have made advances against the outlanders upon the fringes of the cities and the domain, then you are right. Hopefully she will make a valuable asset to our cause.
And we have the serpents to worry about as well.
They will crumble in time.
Indeed. But
they do not know patience, or rather seem to have forgotten its virtues.
regardless, one enemy at a time, I think, is the best at this moment.
You are correct. We exist in an awkward position within this city. She says, kind of looks around at the forest. Gives herself an amused smile. Should it be necessitated, Alamut could be called upon, and the city could be purged in its entirety, but such wanton bloodshed would, needless to say, incur an immense amount of innocent casualties.
And he will nod to that. I had a similar point of view when dealing with the Setites. And again, Lady Heavenly warned me about my carelessness in that decision. I won't deny that I am stoked with rage of what they've done, but it's true. We should keep our fury focused on them, not everything around them.
The Setites are a clan of many contacts and allies, but few friends. That makes them vulnerable.
For now, at least. Said we must not blind ourselves in bias and arrogance.
They've never been a clan that has had many friends. I don't see that changing in the near future, or in the far future. They're too focused on bringing everybody under sway. Even the Ventru recognize the limits of their own strings. They know that it is often more important to have a friend than it is to have a subordinate. It is fascinating how their faith has twisted their worldview.
They want subordination out of everyone they work with, including themselves. Eventually, that will catch up to them, and they'll understand that when everybody submits, that means no one is truly in charge.
Ironic considering they're a low clan, but
For Locan, they are rather loud compared to the others.
Oh, pardon?
That if said for considering for being a low clan or for considering being a low clan, they are loud compared to the other ones.
True, true. As you continue conversation, you see the horned figure of this gangrel's humanoid form. With her hand on the shoulder of your ghoul. It's fairly tight. The ghoul's just kind of shuffling along with her. He looks fairly disheveled, considering he's been out in the wild for 2 weeks. If not, about a week, at least a week. I think it may have been 2.
Nah, I think it's around more 2.
Yeah, I think
close to 3.
So he's been out of here. He's been out in the wild for about 14 days. So his clothing is rather ragged. His face and his just general appearance is disheveled. His facial hair has grown quite long and shaggy, and his armor is damaged. But he does not look particularly injured, just rather poorly presented.
He will look at Asada and will gesture with his head and will just simply say, "She's been feeding and drinking you."
Oh, I have.
Good.
I even taught him how to hunt on his own.
I
It's
would
about
assume he
time he learned.
I assume he would have impressed you. He was trained by a person much better than I.
He knows how to fight, I will give you this, but not how to survive. But now he does. I suppose you can consider that an act of charity from myself.
And he will just nod to that. We have put protections upon this forest, and we will, and they will make indications to you to warn you if anything were to happen.
I saw your clanmate seems to know what she's doing.
She is my superior. I would expect nothing less.
Hmm. Needed help getting your seven.
I believe that our situation is delicate and requires proper attention.
Well, how diplomatic of you.
And hearing her tone of voice, he will kind of respond and not in nearly as a caustic tone, but say, "I'm glad you can appreciate it."
I don't. Such words are always used to mask an outsider's intent.
And
But you have fulfilled your promise to me, so I shall fulfill mine. You wanted information on the dogs that turned me into this decrepit state.
that I do, and of course, the safe return of my ghoul.
He is yours, as I said before. Many of the more general details I already told you before we made our arrangements, captured along the road to Odessa from the east. I had wandered some ways from it before I was set upon. Men wielding fiery sword, stakes, and their ringleader, the one that possessed the power to conjure fire upon me.
A fire that did not fail you.
It did, but it did not kill me when the burning stopped, it is almost as if it was nothing, as if it was never there to begin with. No scarring, no aching, no sores, no searing. No pain to tell me I am still here. I am still alive, as if it was as though my body had simply been rendered still, inert, but not torpid. I could still see. At least for a few moments.
Character-wise, could I see if possibly what she's describing, maybe she was hit with not necessarily fire, but illusionary fire, possibly?
Roll me wits occult, difficulty 8.
Alrighty. Which is 3, and my occult is 3, so that's 6. That's 0 successes. So it's a difficulty 8.
Yeah, you're not entirely sure what she's talking about. You could ask her to specify, maybe be a bit more coherent.
Since I already know she is rather short, I'm not going to push, since this is not a dire situation.
When I fell, my body simply went cold. But I could still heal. But by then I had been staked. I don't remember too much what happened after that. There was something. It's strange. It is as if my mind wanders through this very forest. I am unable to find my way through what happened next. But I do remember at some point being held in a very dark place, a building or basement or some sort of room, some sort of storage room. It was damp. It smelt of rats and Nosferatu and...
Qadir will raise an eyebrow when she says specifically it smelled of Nosferatu.
It smelt of the sewers. Of drainage and waste. But all I could do was look up at the ceiling. As dust settled on my eyes. It was a greater searing than any of the fire ever committed to me. but I always heard every week, every day, every every minute I was awake, I heard people outside the room I was in betting and trading. Whenever I woke up, the room was always different. Crates, boxes, barrels, coffins, and others like me. We came and went every day. Until I was wrapped up and packaged away myself. But I don't remember much about what happened after that. I just remember the stitching of skin, blurry, fleshy window, and the sound of someone screaming into my skull. And I stopped. And I thought I had my last winter as I slipped into nothing, as my mind died. My life stripped away from me, and just complete blackness until it wasn't anymore. And I came here. Does that answer your questions, Judge? Does that satisfy you and your crusade?
Qadir will look over to Satira and see how she's reacting to this.
Statira looks unusually not unnerved. She looks horrified, actually. She looks frightened.
He finds that very understandable, though. Though personally himself, it in his mind is not the horror of the situation isn't dulled on him. It's more like From the behavior he's heard before, this doesn't sound unreasonable. It's more the, oh, actually living through the part that makes it a bit more uncomfortable. He will, though, whisper to Satira, if she was captured and worked on, and she said that her mind was in an odd place, she could have been imprinted on, if we're referring to Tremere.
I don't know.
This is difficult. Her testimony is shocking, but it doesn't clarify their involvement. We will have counsel of this information. But what you told us will hopefully enlighten us to properly deal with the situation, and we appreciate it.
Make me make me a wits investigation roll.
My botch.
Yep, nothing to do here. You're all done.
So, because she's still holding Asada, so he will
Oh no,
say,
she's let him go for like ages now.
okay,
She's already handed him back to you.
no, that's my bad then. Then with that, he will look to Stira and say, I believe at this point, there's nothing more we need to do.
Statira looks at the rather foreboding horned woman a bit meekly, and she says, who do you know what words were exchanged when you were if any, or what may have been said during your time in captivity? She kind of gives a loose snarl, and she simply says, the one selling me referred to the buyer as Primogen.
she said they're to the virus or
To the buyer.
the buyer, and they did use the word primogen for this. Hearing that particular term, his face winces because that also shows there was a decent amount of authority in this person, and what happened to her. This makes things more complicated then.
Complicated? I don't think it's complicated. If there's a threat, you kill it. You have warriors for this, yes.
That we do, but it was already going to be. Like I said, you can't take on a whole entire group that has sway with others. And if specifically that a primogen was involved, he will have several resources to protect himself and his clan. If this was maybe an outlier or maybe just somebody that's nowhere near the top in an organization, this would be easier. Knowing that a primogen is involved, this will make things more difficult.
Then why did you allow them there? Why did you allow them to entrench themselves and form a domain? Why did...
And hearing that, Qadir will
You don't remove threats by talking to them, you kill them.
You don't think we understand that? The Tremere came in quickly and boldly, and they gathered too much support from the other clans. If it was our decision, we would have kicked them out a long time ago, if not just simply wiped them out.
So you are suggesting they simply had more courage.
I'm simply that they were willing to take a risk. And it happened to work at them for a time, but it does not change the fact that even outside of our decisions, there's other clans that did not care for their presence and still don't. But it does not change the fact that we are all living all living in this particular place. That means that we have to live together in some peaceful manner. Even yourself, you cannot just simply murder random animals for fun. They would get the animals would get disconcerted.
This is not for fun. We do not fight and kill for fun. I fight to survive.
And that's why.
And if you outnumber your foe, and you still cannot kill them, what is that supposed to say of the judges?
It says that we know more than just to murder things that we don't like. We have to make decisions that will more or less keep the city or whatever area we are stationed in proper sequence.
It says you are weak.
It says that we make decisions for the betterment. You are speaking out of turn.
Are the Tremere better for the city?
No, but the alliance between the other clans is.
And they would kill you to protect their precious Tremere friends.
Some will.
And yet you have your own. This seems simple.
So, like your vision is yours and our vision is ours.
I no longer have a vision. but I don't tolerate weakness in my presence.
Okay. With a statement like that, Qadir will. Okay. I'm going to be casting High Winds.
Okay, roll it. High Winds, what level is that?
That is level 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. With 1, that's 5.
Okay, so you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 successes.
That means at that point it is instantaneous, and a gale force wind will be coming directly around this area, and more specifically around this area, not just throughout the forest. And Kadir will say in a harsh tone, like, again, you speak out of turn.
You are in my domain, whelp.
Yet, and I will not. Regardless,
you came here asking for my help. Because you cannot fight your own battles. I fought mine. Win or lose, I survived. That is all that matters now. I gave you what you wished. And you prattle on about politics and negotiations and diplomacy and the betterment of the city, while your enemies grow emboldened and more entrenched and more powerful. I remember the judges were strong once. Those judges would have helped us. They would have helped me. I would not be here. I would be there. But I am not.
With the last statement, though the wind still blowing, his face goes a little softer, despite the insult. And he'll just simply say, do you think we don't see what's happening to the other clans, to the city? You think we enjoy seeing what they do to the people, to us? Nearly destroyed one of the best of us. And no one seems to care and allows that family to die and wither on the vine.
The only question then remains is what will you do about it?
We will do what needs to be done. In this, as our station, we will be swift and precise about it.
What needs to be done? She shrinks back into the form of a leopard.
When she begins to shrink, I will look to Tastira, trying to speak over the winds, though if I could command the wind to stop, I will.
I remember doing what I thought needed to be done once. I was wrong. And I was left in the state I am in now.
I feel for your situation. I cannot, I could not just sit here amongst the forest knowing what they did to you. Or what they would done to me, what they've already done to us. I'm choosing to do something about it. But just by going in utter full fury and outrage will cause more problems than it's worth. So we have to be precise and we have to be careful. Or we'll end up in a position that we will regret for the rest of our internal lives.
And then wage your war. I have taken my pound of flesh.
And with that, he will command the winds to stop around this area and look to Statira. There's nothing more we can say at this moment. We should leave.
Statira simply nods to you and will begin to walk back towards the forest entrance. The forest gangrel simply begins to walk back towards its cave.
As they're walking, Al-Qadir still has a bit of an irritated look on his face. And he will say to her, I should have handled that better, shouldn't I?
She was aggressive and contradicted herself. But more importantly, she is simply broken. I believe she projects power onto you because she feels she does not have any left.
The fact that she exists still says that she has power. The fact that she established a connection with this forest to live peacefully shows that as well. She is choosing to let herself be defeated, which is understandable, but if not simple and lazy. She will continue here and only will rot internally for eternity. She will gain nothing just staying here. But that is not my decision.
Perhaps she believes she will lose nothing either.
Perhaps.
Perhaps she's simply deciding to remove herself from the jihad now before it kills her a second time.
And he just kind of nods. This also does not change the fact that whoever we are dealing with exactly, they are up the chain. And also that we may need to involve ourselves with Nosferatu housing an underground market of people.
Didn't you visit an underground market of people in the earlier stages of your investigation?
And I did, but I did not know that this area was entrenched with Nosferatu. I knew there were mortals, and the Scourge was there.
I think she was being metaphorical, Nosferatu being near sewers. Or inside of them, rather.
And then she was being overly dramatic.
I think she was just shaken. You are asking one to recount an experience most would not survive.
That is true.
But I understand your frustrations. She seems to be a very difficult person to talk to. She seems angry at our clan for doing, from her perspective, little to nothing, but no longer wants anything to do with the conflict herself.
Which I understand. But in her pain and her fury, she doesn't understand that we can't just do things outside of the jurisdiction of everyone else.
You speak for truth in this.
Unless we choose to reside outside of the company of other Canaanites and simply be the boogeyman that they all think that we are, we accomplish nothing. Without
Still,
proper...
perhaps to the Tremere, we may need to be some night.
To a point. I've been investigating a few of them, and it seems that not all of them are as egotistical and power-hungry compared to their forebears. Even for the Tremere, we can't judge all of them with death that can prove themselves worthy enough to exist, no matter how easy or how much we may want to. And you see Qadir very, very clearly grinding his teeth when he says that.
We will see. Do not let her anger rub off on you, Qadir. She smiles rather softly. Let us return home. We can discuss our findings once more. Perhaps you should go looking for this underground market again. I believe when Hakim looked upon it, the Regent and the Scourge were there. They were going to move it. I believe your presence may have shaken them.
I will do my best to investigate, but it wouldn't be wise to do that by myself. I will need allies.
With Hakim now absent, I will accompany you in his stead.
Thank you.
But we will need to find this slave market again.
I have my ways to hopefully find this.
And maybe at some point we should return to the gang room. She may be able to give us more information when she is less
irritable.
Yes. If such a thing is possible, of course.
It may take some time. My gesture, my actor, will not hold well with her for probably quite some time.
If you wish, I can go in your stead.
It may be better to get one of the vizier to speak to her.
Maybe. But they're busy dealing with their domain breach right now, and I
Yeah,
doubt they will have the time to aid us in our own investigation. Maybe Jibril, Hebony's child. He may be able to help us.
he nods to that.
But
Well,
he is not as sociable as she is.
we will decide the best course of action soon.
Yes. She walks back to the horses, who begin panicking upon you approaching them. Shall we? I'll be honest, I do not like riding for too long. The horses are as irritable as the gangrel.
That they are. And I do have a question to ask of you.
By all means.
I have been studying more of the water of Abraham's fountain, and I saw in physical use what it does to creatures of the damned. I was discussing with another canine to possibly make a true weapon out of it with a particular method of my design. He is absent at this moment, and I will need proper craftsmen to help me with it.
A dangerous task, given the nature of the water. To my
I
knowledge, none of us have dare ever risked harvesting it on a large scale.
I have been meditating at the fountain an hour every night for a while now. I am hoping with possible techniques I can maybe speak to it in a way to gain better knowledge.
I have never attempted this, to be honest, in all my years here. It would be a first, but I would urge caution. Being near the fountain, as I'm sure you have learned through meditations at this point, invokes the fear of the beast in us. Attempting to converse with the spirit of the fountain, no doubt the spirit of Allah himself would. It is a great risk. I would not wish to see you lost to us over such an endeavor, but if you believe something can be gained from such an experience, by all means.
The fact that the Sedites used the water to defeat the demon that we dealt with will mean that they may possibly come with the same decision, but I doubt it, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. And I've already been studying the water since I came to Odessa. I am just simply expediting my particular research.
Well then, if you have need of me in your project, feel free to call upon me.
Thank you.
My workload has shrank in recent nights. In spite of my new dealings with Giles. He has a habit of making sure everything works on time.
And he nods to that.
He would, I dare say, make a half-decent statesman.
I would prefer he'd be decent than half decent.
It is a shame he did not acquire the position of keeper. I would have vastly preferred him to what we have now. His skill set is underappreciated, I think.
Many things are underappreciated within Anessa. The fact that what our situation is proves that much.
Again, you speak the truth, but we really should be off.
Indeed.
And I think there, as they begin to ride away on rioting horses, we can end the scene. Thank you, Per, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. We'll see you all next time.